Hi everyone, it's been a while and I hope you all had a great summer. Now the summer is over, at least here in Sweden. It's time to get back to the old routine where I will post videos more often, aiming to have one video per week. So make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for the new updates. Now let's talk about this Evergrande crisis that you probably are hearing everywhere by now. If you haven't, then let me bring you up to speed here. Evergrande, or Henda in Chinese, is the number 2 largest property developer in China. It is ranked number 122 on the Fortune 500 company, with sales of more than $100 billion and adjusted core profits of around $5 billion in 2020. But due to its over-ambitious expansion strategy and the mismanagement of its debt, it has become the world's most heavily indebted property developer, with a debt over 1.95 trillion yuan. How did Evergrande end up here? Well, the property developer sector is a high cash consumption sector with long cash conversion cycles. Well, what does long cash conversion cycle means? The company has tons of cash tied up in accounts receivables and inventories which are not liquid and takes a very long time to convert to cash. We all know that a building can take months, even a year or two from laying ground to unit finishing. And during this whole time, property developers are pouring cash into construction materials and so on. They may get some cash through presale of the building units, but mostly they need to take out huge loans to fund ongoing projects. In order to grow fast and capture more markets, Evergrande don't just have one ongoing project at a time. They have hundreds of projects running in parallel. So they need to borrow aggressively to fund all those projects that are running in parallel. Now, in the property bull market, where the housing price is only going up, they were able to take out more and more loans because their collateral, like the land and the building, are also going up in value. And that is why Evergrande and other property developers are motivated to keep the housing price going up only. And one common practice they do is to bid the land at prices significantly higher than market. It didn't matter to them because the risk got transferred to the flat buyers and the banks that financed the purchase. And this model worked very well for the local governments and the banks as well because local governments get more money through the land sale if the price goes up and the banks earn more interest on those loans. This has been ongoing over the last 15 years, leading to a serious affordability crisis emerging in major cities and households that soared way above disposable income. Now, when the Chinese government finally decided to deal with this unsustainable moral hazard, it came out with the 3 red lines policies to deleverage the property developers and rein in lending to the real estate sector. It also increased the down payment requirement to 30% in an attempt to slow down the demand on housing. Then the market took a hit, especially in the second line and third line cities, where Evergrande has aggressively invested in. Now the price doesn't go up only. Evergrande's collateral start to become less valuable, and when the banks start to sense the shift in the market, they also start to tighten the lending towards Evergrande. That caused the first domino to fall, which is the Evergrande's cash flow got interrupted. They start to struggle to get cash for payments. They were so much in trouble that they even forced their employees to lend them money through buying a so-called investment product in order for the employees to get their year-end bonus. They packaged it as an investment product or an interest-bearing loan. At that point, all the major executives of Evergrande know that they are in a deep shit. and they offloaded their shares already in the beginning of this year. According to the debt payment schedule, 335 billion yuan is due by the end of 2021. And according to the 2022 annual report, it only has 158 billion in cash to repay all its short-term debt plus interest. If you do the math, you will see it does not have enough cash to keep up with this payment. And at this point, there is no bank, no lending party, or any money institutions that are willing to lend any more money to Evergrande. And in fact, the banks are freezing Evergrande's bank accounts to trying to save their own ass because the risk of default is getting real. The banks obviously don't want to lose money. On July 19, 2021, Chinese Guangfa Bank, one of Evergrande's biggest lender, ordered a freeze on 132 million yuan in deposits. And two more banks, Hang Seng Bank and the Bank of East Asia, then suspended new mortgages for Evergrande's two new projects in Hong Kong. Now that the liquidity has dried up for Evergrande, it doesn't have much options left. It can either try to sell some of its existing assets for cash or restructure contract terms and negotiate with investors to push out maturity. Or maybe try to sell more equity to raise funds, which I highly doubt it could happen. Who wants Evergrande's shares now? And if all methods fail, they are probably going to declare bankruptcy, or some say maybe wait for government's payout. Right now, they're offering their inventories and building units as a debt repayment. Not sure how willingly those investors would take this deal, but I'm guessing it won't be easy for Evergrande, as they'd likely to ask for a huge discount on those inventories and units. And Evergrande's total assets value will shrink dramatically as it is already reflected on its stock price. Well, in my opinion, if they cannot pull this out, a bankruptcy is more likely to happen. I don't think the Chinese government will bail it out. Here is why. The Chinese government is determined this time not only to rectify the property developers, but also to address a more vital structural issue of capital misallocation within China. Currently, the majority of the venture capitalists' investment are still flowing towards real estate rather than high-tech innovation companies. The Chinese government wants to steer the capitals towards those high-tech innovation companies to fuel a more consumption-driven growth economy rather than heavily relying on seeking easy growth through construction and leverage. I think it is a very tough and risky move from the Chinese government, but it is a correct and a bold move. It is like cutting off a cancer that has been growing on you for years. You will definitely feel the pain when it's being cut it off, and if you survive and recover fully from the surgery, your life will be much better later on. But there is also a small chance that you don't survive the surgery or you don't recover from it. Either way, you live or die, the immediate pain cannot be avoided. And that's what I feel about the situation at the moment. So, will this be the Lehman Brothers moment for China? And what are the ramifications of this crisis? I don't believe it is the same as when Lehman Brothers went down in the 2008 financial crisis. But like I said, it will create short-term turbulence in the property market. Banks, construction material, and appliances companies, not only in China but also globally. You see, Evergrande is not just one isolated case. It might be the first domino to fall, but there will be more coming. Most property developers are way over-leveraged in this space. And right now, the contagion is at work. The fear is spreading across the whole sector all at once. Those major property developers are now facing the interruption of their cash flow and would in turn lead to more liquidation need of their assets, like selling their land and buildings. So we could probably see a housing price correction in most cities in China. Maybe not so much in the first-line cities like Beijing and Shanghai, because the demand is still there in those cities. And the banks that have lent heavily to the real estate sector will have to face the potential defaults that are coming. If the banks cannot swallow the defaults, it may very well trigger bankruptcy waterfall starting from the most leveraged banks. And that will be a catastrophic event. I'm not saying that this is gonna happen. I just like to put this scenario out here. And globally, those suppliers for construction materials and appliances that have Chinese property developers as their major customer will also take a strong hit, as the demand is likely to dry up in the coming years. We have already seen the stock price falling sharply from the Australian miners and Japanese appliance maker like Toto and Daikin. These are the known chain reactions for now, but the contagion is hard to contain once it starts to spread. So we don't know how fast and how far it will spread. Well, let's wait and see what unfolds. I will follow closely on this incident and keep updating on this channel. So if you enjoyed my gossip, then please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And that's it for today. See you in my next video. Bye!